Hey, Fletcher here, and welcome to episode 3 of Deconstructed, a retro set review where we take a look back at Magic the Gathering history through the lens of a single constructed set. Today, we will be exploring Weatherlight and wrapping up the Mirage block cycle. Weatherlight was released in June of 1997. Unlike Mirage and Visions, which were a reimagining of the MTG Alpha set, Weatherlight features a new storyline with a cast of characters and cards which were specifically designed to support this new narrative. This shift in development came from Michael G. Ryan and Mark Rosewater, who both believed that Magic needed big plots, consistent characters, and a complete story arc to follow from set to set. As a result, they came up with the Weatherlight Saga, which is introduced in Weatherlight with the goal of setting the scene for the next block cycle, Tempest. The Weatherlight Saga will be a continuous thread for the next 4 years, concluding with the release of Apocalypse in June of 2001. This shift in development permeated through all design teams. The artwork for the set, flavor text, card names, and supplemental products all drive the singular narrative of the Weatherlight Saga. As with most MTG storylines, it's complicated. The Weatherlight is an ancient ship built by Urza using ancient Thran technology and a Power Stone capable of jumping planes. This ship is the centerpiece of a larger collection of artifacts which, once assembled, will create the Legacy, a powerful weapon capable of defeating Yawgmoth, the evil ruler and creator of the Phyrexians. The Weatherlight is captained by Sisay, who is betrayed by Stark Ilvek and abducted to Wrath. She's imprisoned by Yawgmoth's leader of the Wrath Plane, Volrath. Shipmates Tangarth and Hannah now set out to convince former crew member Gerard to rejoin the ship and help them find Sisay. Once back on board, Gerard finds and activates Karn in the ship's cargo. The crew then goes throughout Dominaria, recruiting more crew members, Miri, Urtai, and Krovax. Oh yeah, and Squeak. Towards the end of our story, they find that Stark has been captured by a warlord named Meraxus. The crew then sneaks into the warlord's camp to rescue Stark. Meraxus gives chase, Gerard and Meraxus duel, and in the end, Stark stabs Meraxus in the back, killing the warlord. In the conclusion of our set's story, Stark reveals to Gerard that his family is being held captive on Wrath. Stark then agrees to guide the ship to the Wrath Plane, thus moving us into the Tempest block storyline. Released in June 9th of 1997, Weatherlight has 167 cards, 50 rare, 55 uncommon, and 62 commons. The expansion symbol is the Thran Tome, a unique artifact that contains all the knowledge from the Thran Empire. This book was heavily used by Urza in the construction of his artifacts. Weatherlight carried forward cumulative upkeep, flanking, and phasing established in Mirage and Visions, but added an emphasis on graveyard matters and sacrifice buyout cards. The Weatherlight card cycles include Sacrifice Auras, Kithican Armor, Phantom Wings, Coils of the Medusa, Fire Whip, and Briar Shield. Cumulative upkeep spells, Aberoth, Inner Sanctum, Psychic Vortex, Gallowbraid, and Heart of Bogarden. A cycle of rare spells, Tariff, Paradigm Shift, Urborg Justice, Firestorm, and Nature's Resurgence. Some of the most notable cards from the set include Gemstone Mine, which is still in use today and at the time of Weatherlight's release, eased the mana base of many multicolored decks. And there are 3 other non-basic lands in this set, all with art done by John Avon: Lotus Vale, Scorched Ruins, and Winding Canyons. Nullrod, which is an artifact that stops the activation of any artifacts, and is very useful in Vintage. The flavor text on this card is also hilarious and features art from the Classic and Cinematics. Sticking with the artifact theme, we then have Mind Stone, a 2-mana colorless artifact rock that has been reprinted a bajillion times, originally without flavor text, and then interestingly with differing flavor text on each new printing. Pendril Mist was also printed in Weatherlight. It's an enchantment version of Pendril Haven. And Doomsday, the centerpiece of many complicated EDH stacks. Some honorable mentions from Weatherlight include Firestorm, Call of the Wild, Gaia's Blessing, a classic green graveyard synergy card, Boisium Strip, a somewhat flashback enabler on a stick, Bubble Matrix, a very fun card, Imperial Armor, the Morrow enchantment, Orcus Settlers, Veteran Explorer, Phyrexian Furnace, the original relic of Progenitus, and Atog's evil brother, Necrotog. The cards from Weatherlight which most impacted the standard meta include Gemstone Mine, which in combination with City of Brass and Undiscovered Paradise, allowed Prismatic Black Aggro, a heavy mono black aggro deck to splash blue and red cards for tempo and direct damage spells. Jacob Slmer piloted this build to first place at the 1997 World Championship. The finalist and semi-final decks also leaned on the release of cards from Weatherlight. In second place, Janusz Kuhn piloted red, white, blue speed control using Abeyance for tempo and card advantage while establishing its mana base and digging for threats and counter magic. Semi-finalist Sven Giersten piloted a mono green deck titled Señor Stompy to a third place finish, which used the Rogue Elephant and Harvest Worm synergy from Weatherlight as part of its 1 and 2 mana creature slots. Finally, semi-finalist Paul McCabe played red-blue aggro control with Ophidian for card advantage, Mind Stones for mana and card advantage, and Abductions to help deal with the opponent's threats. Finally, my favorite deck to come out of the Weatherlight release was Mono Black Buried Alive. This deck was built around recurring Ashen Ghoul and Nether Shadow by filling your graveyard with the Weatherlight sorcery Buried Alive. This deck was a lot of fun to play and the first true Dredge-style Reanimator deck that I can remember. Also worth noting is that ESPN2 started covering Magic tournaments with the 1997 Worlds Tournament, and Brian Kibler had his first major tournament win with Grand Prix Toronto. As we close out the Mirage block, we have now fully moved into the Silver Age of MTG design. With Weatherlight, we now have character-driven narratives with full design support. I believe the next time we'll see such a major overhaul of the Magic identity will be a decade later with the introduction of Planeswalkers in Lorwyn. Thank you so much for watching. In our next episode, Tempest, we will learn how the Weatherlight Saga evolves and how a new set with a standard rotation impacts the competitive standard meta. Thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, help us out by clicking that like button down below. And to keep up on all the latest and greatest, click that subscribe button. Don't forget to hit that bell icon to get alerts whenever we have a new video. And check out some other sweet videos here and here.